think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Okay, long. Maybe Get the Gringo.
That feels so appropriate.
Well, actually, the funny thing, Rambo Last Blood was directed by the same guy who did Get the Gringo, and it was co-written with Mel Gibson. We probably talked about it on the episode.
Beautiful. I don't remember that. I don't know if we did. But that's cool.
Yeah,
that's like that guy's got a real niche.
Who's the guy who directed?
Director, yeah. Like
he only made 3 movies, so it's a hell of a niche.
Is the third one about Mexico?
It's about a giant shark, so that's probably meant to stand in for Mexico. I'm not.
I think you're right. Absolutely.
I'm not certain.
No question.
That. Yeah. Hey guys, I got some really bad news for you.
What's that?
This is actually probably going to fall flat because I'm probably the only one who is a little sad about this. You guys know who Rex Murphy is?
Yeah, he's like a shitty columnist for the National Post, right?
Yeah, and he also did he used to do things on CBC. He was kind of a conservative pundit here in Canada. He died today.
Fuck!
It was before we started. Yeah, man, and the ugliest man on television, dead, 77.
Who's gonna tell us about conservative grumpy opinions?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm sure there's no shortage, but I don't know, man. Like I used to listen to Cross Country Checkup on CBC, where he would take calls across the entire Canadian landscape, and just do this elaborate, talking about themes, talking about this and that. Yeah, it was fine. He was a tolerable conservative pundit, right? I'm sure he was a real shithead in some regards, but he really wasn't.
He's trying. He had beliefs.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, he had beliefs. That's the distinction between your right wing shithead has no beliefs but pretends they do. And maybe I'm romanticizing someone who's just passed away that I feel some sort of nostalgia for. But Rex was a guy who I probably would. I don't know what him and I would talk about if we had a conversation. I'd be like, "Oh, you took a lot of money from big oil, didn't you?" But yeah, he seemed to genuinely have some sort of mooring in a classical conservative fashion, whatever the fuck that was. Yeah. But anyway, he died, so no one outside of Canada is going to give a shit, and I don't think
check him out.
Yeah, check him out, man. It's time we're gonna do a Rex Murphy cast, just like should
we dedicate this episode to him?
I think we should dedicate this episode. This is that perfect episode. I wish we could do a thing when they do those silent credits at the end of a movie, dedicated to Rex Murphy. But yeah, can't do it in that particular instance. Yeah. So yeah, which brings us to what would we dedicate Rex Murphy? What movie could possibly accept the Rex Murphy imprimatur? Imprimatur? What's the word? I think that's
that sounds good.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with that. Yeah.
Sure.
Rambo.
2000.
Rambo.
Yeah.
That's what we
directed by Sylvester Stallone, written by Sylvester Stallone with the assistance of Art Monterastelli, who this dude wrote Hunted. You know what I'm talking about, with Benicio del Toro?
No.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, James, man, with the knife fight. With the knife fighting, that movie.
The knife fight.
Yeah. That movie's hot fucking fire. It probably sucks, and we just remember 2003 with special joy. But
there's no way. There's no way that it sucks, because I don't ever remember. If somebody says knife fight to me, I think of it.
Yeah. Tommy Lee Jones, that's the other guy. Yeah, and you wouldn't think a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro knife fighting would just be the thing that is etched in your memory for the rest of your life, but it really is. So
yeah, it was, because whatever, that's choreography right there. If you can make Tommy Lee look like he can fight.
Well, it's a Friedrich movie, right? Oh Jesus, the Exorcist director. What's that guy's name? Ugh.
Oh, I don't know.
William Friedkin. There we go. Someone's gonna fucking punch me right in the face for having forgotten that.
Well,
Yeah. Jason, please don't punch me in the face. The anyway, so the director had a large thing to do with that, but it makes sense with this movie. Like this movie, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but this is a violent movie. It's a little bit of blood in this movie.
Did this one earn the R? You think?
this is the most violent movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, it earned the R. Yeah, sure. R for fucking raging bloodbath. I don't know.
Finally did it. Finally get your seal of approval.
What was my statistic from earlier, boys?
No, I looked up what you're talking about. Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know if it's true, but it's okay. So, number of bad guys killed by Rambo with shirt on, 83. Number of good guys killed by bad guys, 113. Total number of people killed, 236. Number of people killed per minute, 2.59.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Which is up 100% from Rambo 3. It seems to be a I think, okay, actually, here's a good place for us to start. First blood. Okay, so here's the statistic. Time in which first person is killed. Rambo First Blood, 39 minutes. Rambo First Blood Part 2, 33 minutes. Rambo 3, 41 minutes. That's surprising. Rambo 4, a.k.a. Rambo, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 22 seconds. Like, this movie gets straight to it in a way that the other movies don't. Like, and hearing those numbers, like that's pretty stark. Like this is a different beast than we've seen.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. So this movie, I really like the documentary style.
Well, that's a nice way of
pieces, I guess, at the beginning. This is an actual conflict. And I believe the actor that played the lead bad guy actually served with the rebels.
Yeah, the Karen. Yeah. Like the guy who's like wearing the glasses all the time and just watches everybody fucking die while he smokes a cigarette, just looking stone faced. That's
it. And they said also apparently this movie actually it actually helped the Burmese freedom fighters. Apparently, like gave them like a morale boost.
Yeah, I was reading that
in real life. Like that's wild.
That's neat.
So I guess for anyone listening, like this story takes place in Burma, which is, like, I don't know anything about Burma, but I'm led to believe that it is an extremely violent place with an ongoing civil war for many, many years. Particularly, I don't know if particularly at this time, but still in 2008, Stallone wanted to put this movie, in the most violent conflict zone on Earth that he could find, and he talked to some sort of dude and from the United Nations, and he got a sense that like this is the place to do it. Burma is the place to set this story. I don't know why that had to be the case though. Like, well, what is it about Rambo that needs him to be in like the shittiest place on Earth?
Well, isn't it interesting, eh?
Well, this is pretty neat. This is the when I asked for his take on the film, the First Blood writer, David Morrell, said that he's pleased with the level of violence, even though it wasn't for everyone. But he said for the first time, the tone of his first novel had been used in any of the movies. He said it's spot on in terms of how he imagined the character, an angry, burned out, filled with self-disgust because Rambo hates what he is, and yet he knows it's the only thing he does well. So he liked the level up on violence.
Yeah, I like that. I
was like, is it like more of a roots thing? Like he went back to the Rambo, the real roots? You wanted this, James. You wanted this.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So, and I know we're just sort of spouting trivia to each other, but like also another point of trivia, which I think recontextualizes all of this, is he's like, I was looking at the shitty budget, and I was like, how do I pump this shit up? And they were talking about, what's inexpensive? Cheap blood, man. Let's just make it bloody. And I think honestly that like this ties into Rambo's like. I'm not saying that propaganda against the sort of Burmese oppressive Burmese military is like maybe the worst thing anyone could ever do, but by using the word propaganda, I'm not like propaganda is sometimes good.
This movie is still banned over there, by the way.
Yeah, right. But like it's right in keeping with the Rambo program of slowly being transformed from like a criticism of militarism to an endorsement of it. And this is like an endorsement of a very particular sort of I think it even goes back to the world peacekeeping concept of like America is going to be out there engaged in peacekeeping like post Rambo 3, and like it's I like the evolution between 1980 and 2008, like 30 years later. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, 30 years later, like how that's communicated, and it's communicated in like chunks. Like it's communicated in like awful violence, and there's not and like and also some sort of like Christian missionary background thing.
Yeah.
It's Chris, you keep wanting to say something.
I was just fascinated by the fact that this begins with actual footage of like death and dismemberment and like bloated bodies in Burma. And I find this movie fascinating because it challenges what I've said about Rambo in the past, what we said about Rambo in the past. But it's also like deeply involved with what we said in the past. I think that there's something about that. By showing actual footage, Rambo wants to be seen itself getting involved in the real violence in the world, and that it's engaging with real issues. And it's almost like a sort of mission statement, but it's also at the same time saying like, look at these fucking atrocities, look at how savage these people are. And it's doing both, and it's also doing good work because it's bringing attention to this conflict that like was ignored by the media. It's really a fascinating mix.
It is, and then it like you can enjoy this ride, man. The whole fucking thing, it's fine, like it is like, as I said, propaganda is not always a bad thing. This is fine, like
whatever else I'll say about this movie, I love this movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but I'm not going to join the Korean resistance at any point, but when he says like he's proud of the fact that this like people were using that catchphrase, whatever the fucking catchphrase was, we live
for nothing or die for something.
Yeah, there you go. That became a catchphrase about amongst the Korean rebels in Burma, and frankly, like you can be proud of that, I guess. Yeah. I don't know enough about the conflict. Like as the conflict is presented to me in media and text, it sounds like the Korean rebels are the goodies. But don't know enough about that. But either way, if one believes that they're the goodies, then you can certainly be proud of having assisted them in their resistance effort.
And at the same time, that is absolutely not the slightest bit what this movie is about or what it wants to say. Like that's a weird speech that he gives those mercenaries, because like this is like the whole movie is him saying like fuck the world, like there's nothing to this, like you cannot change anything, there's no point in intervening. I think maybe the truest statement of Rambo, maybe the qualifying statement of the things that we said before, is that maybe Rambo is ultimately a gauge of American enthusiasm for intervention in the world.
Well, he became like a barometer. That. Yeah, he certainly became that. Yeah. And I guess that's what I was gesturing towards, like within 30 years between 88, when it was Richard Crenna or whatever his fucking name is, like standing there, like talking shit, like weirdo cowboys, like Tango and Cash, just out there ready to fight a bunch of baddies. And then this, like it's universes apart. Like, he's still able to rack up the body count with a bow and arrow, or
That's a nice touch.
But actually not with, like, he has to use an anti-aircraft gun. And at least there's some sort of it's when in you use the word, James, like documentary, like I don't know if it's documentary, but it's got like a definite, I think it's just because it's digital. But
there was some digital effects. Yeah. Did you
the cameras are probably digital. Like the whole thing is just completely different. Like they film it on handhelds.
Yeah, did you guys read people, apparently critics and people were like, "Oh, that's ridiculous, that the way that gun tore bodies up," and then there were some Afghanistan veterans or something that said like, "No, that's what it looks like when you fire one of those at people."
That's amazing.
Okay,
Wow.
so listen to this. Okay, so I went over to the Gun Encyclopedia of Movies, or whatever it's called, and I looked up all the various guns, and some sick fuckos out there have like documented and taken pictures, but so they've got, it's the Browning M2 aircraft. It's an anti-aircraft 50 caliber machine gun. Listen to this trivia. Sylvester Stallone was originally going to wield the Browning M2 by hand. The gun,
yeah.
He weighed it at over 120 pounds, and Sly could physically carry it and fire it, but it was too cumbersome and slow to cut down the action too much. They decided to mount it to the back of a Jeep instead, but the recoil was so immense that it ripped off the Jeep floor. They bolted the mount down to the Jeep frame, and that is what's seen in the film.
What the fuck?
So of course it did that to human bodies. Like like, funny thing about this movie, I never questioned what ordnance and explosions, like, one of the things that I really like about this movie is like the amount of violence that is done to humans is Saving Private Ryan-esque, and is appropriately so, right? Like that. This is like, I think in a modern context, like if Paul Verhoeven was still making movies, you might get violence like this, where it's both comical and you're like, oh, actually bullets do that to people.
Yeah, that's funny too, because to me that's like a different type of fandom also. Like there is a fandom that's like that is interested in the ordnance that's used in movies. What types of weapons were they realistically used? Were they actual weapons? Were they props? Were they something that you could, like even those landmines they used on the the games against the little villagers or whatever.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's interesting. That's not my kind of personal fandom. A little nerdier than that, but yeah, there's a nerd fringe, I think, that's interested in weapons. We've talked about that before, I think, in one other movie.
Yeah, I brought this up in Predator, I think, because I was wondering about the chain gun. I was like, okay, well, what's up with that thing? And they gave me the full scoop on that one. A lot of different guns involved here, but none of them are very important, except for the sniper rifle. That gets some excellent. The two
that was fun. Yeah.
Maybe it's actually important to bring this up. Like if we can measure the. I don't know. Like, I don't even know what's being measured by this, but comparing what type of guns work in Rambo 3, where it's just like it's a grenade launcher and an AK-47, and you're going to take on a tank, and maybe you'll have an anti-aircraft weapon or something like that, like a rocket launcher. Whereas this movie, you got like a Barrett sniper rifle, and then things have just changed. Like it's Rambo translated into. Gosh, how many movies have happened since then, right? It's a low budget plus translation.
Yeah, and the fun part about this Rambo for me too is the military squad. Rambo basically uses his bow and arrow in that first conflict scene to establish that he is now the alpha of this
That's right. Yeah.
of this fucking militant group. Even the current the current alpha of the hired mercenaries sort of just like bows a knee to him, says, "Okay, listen, it's obviously Rambo." I believe he calls him Batman.
Does he call
Boatman, I think it's Boatman.
Boatman?
Boatman?
Yeah, he's got
sounded like Batman. And who are you, Batman?
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, Boatman. That's funny. But because that's what he's calling him the whole way along. But yeah, and then he basically assumes control of the team and leads a full military operation. Never seen that before in Rambo film, so that was awesome. There was a bunch of firsts. Did you guys read the firsts?
No.
It was the first time he used a pistol. First Rambo film without a helicopter.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
They couldn't afford it.
Yeah, first Rambo film completely without a scene where Rambo's shirtless.
Yeah.
And then that was, I guess that was because he was getting all those tattoos done, and it was like 120 degrees because they were on location, so they couldn't do any makeup work or anything either.
Interesting. Yeah, there are many components of the Rambo movie which are missing from this, which again makes it sort of like it is a transition between, like, I did wonder how did we end up at Rambo Last Blood, and this movie, it's not a seamless transition. It's like a really brutal transition to this. I'm watching the scene right now where he's establishing an alpha dominance with the bow and arrow, and it's like, it's a bluff. It's like, kill me and this guy will go with me, but the whole time he's giving him that speech about, like, I can't hear it right now because I'm, we're talking, but I think this is when he gives the speech about, like, we all want to go home. He's like, none of us want to be here. None of us, but this is what we do, like, we're soldiers. And so he gives a rousing speech. At the same time, he's like threatening old English shithead guy. Fucking monkeys. What am I doing here? The guy that's been, what do they call him? He calls himself, they send in the devil to do God's work. Yeah. But that notion of home, like, I guess maybe it's even contained within that. And maybe, I'm not sure, Chris, if maybe you were kind of talking or gesturing towards this, but like, this is when he has that. So there's that massacre scene at 28 minutes. And then immediately, that's the horrible one. They're throwing kids into fires, people's arms are getting
Flamethrowers.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I was just like chef's kiss the whole time. I was like, wow, good for you guys.
The bayonets.
Yeah, bayoneting children. Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay, we're not even doing a Rambo movie anymore. This is something else. This is like that we're taking the Rambo franchise and overlaying it over something else, But anyway, immediately after that, he has that elaborate flashback where they're talking about, like, and Richard Crenna, Troutman is always like, you gotta come full circle. And the girl, Sarah, who I guess we haven't even talked about, like, what the fuck Rambo's doing.
Oh my god!
Like, we haven't even talked about it. Haven't even talked about this movie, really. She's like, don't you want to go home or whatever? Like, we got to go home. And like, it occurred to me that Rambo's never actually tried to go home in this. And he's at home, goes to Vietnam, tries to return to Hope, fails. Ends up, he gets run out of town by Hope's fucking soldiers, kicks back to Vietnam, goes to Thailand, ends up in Burma, and then somehow the introduction of Christianity sends him finally back home again. Like, there's, and I think this is part of the transition. Like, Christianity's never been an element of Rambo, and there's a real shift towards, like, a very obvious evangelical missionary. And that's not even subtext. That's like straight up fucking text. It's like, and this movie, it needs to be placed in the same stream as, like, Left Behind, or like that whole fucking constellation of Christian evangelical films, which we don't watch, but is nonetheless a $1 billion enterprise. This is of that universe.
But at the same time, I feel like this movie is like exasperated with missionaries as well. Like I don't like Rambo like spends probably the good 20 minutes telling them to fuck off. Like there's nothing, there's no hope. God is not going to save the world. God is like the person who's like sent people to endlessly kill each other. He has that whole conversation with her, and she's like, "I'll talk to you." I fucking hate that actress, by the way. I don't know her name, but she's an angel. She's in Dexter.
Oh yeah.
Julia Benz.
So bad. Like she just cannot deliver a line, and I don't know how she has a career.
Wow.
Funny story. She also that same year served in Punisher Warzone.
No.
And saw 5. I don't know what she did.
Wow.
But apparently she's the girl in Punisher Warzone. James, can you confirm or deny this? Do you know?
Punisher Warzone. I can't remember, but
Angela, does that ring a bell? I don't know. We don't have to.
You mean the one with Ray?
Yeah. Oh wait, with Ray. Oh no, that's the one with that other fucking. Oh, Ray Stevenson. Yeah. She's in there. Anyway, if you don't recollect, then that's
I don't. Sorry. Yeah, I do remember her from Dexter.
Punisher Warzone.
And I did actually not mind her in Dexter. Actually.
Okay.
Because I just feel like her whiny. Yeah, she is in that Punisher Warzone. But I just feel like her whiny, like I don't know. I just feel like she irked me, and it was good for scene development. Like she was just like this bothersome like character that just like gave this extra like edge to the relationship with him because he's a serial killer.
It's true. I felt like she was well casted for the same reason.
Yeah, because just to make you uncomfortable. Like there's nothing like, not to be too mean, but there's nothing sexual about her. Her scenes are uncomfortable. Like they tend to. It makes you feel on edge. I don't know. Like.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you hate her. Did you hate her?
I hate her.
She was useless though.
Chris.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, she was useless.
She was useless, and that's sort of like that's the role. Like he's there to kind of. Oh, it's complicated. Like they have that conversation earlier where Rambo says like what you're trying to do is try to change what is, and she's like what is that we're like animals. It's in the blood. Peace is an accident, and then she says he says nothing ever changes, and that the old men start war, young men fight it, everyone dies, and God's gonna make that go away. But she kind of like is like I can win him over, and kind of does a little bit. But I think the ultimate message that this movie like he's there to save the pretty blonde girl, but I think what he wants to save is that naivety that you can change things, because like without that the world really is just a slaughterhouse. Like it's just Rambo, you know. So there's got to be some. I think that's what he cares about. It's that illusion. It's almost like a Heart of Darkness thing that there can be intervention.
And that's what sends him home. You know, like the promise of a trad wife. Like, and I recognize what you're saying, Chris, is in that this is like a criticism of the Christian missionary mission. But on the other hand, you know, it's a perverse truth that individuals like racists love American History X. That white nationalists enjoy, not ironically, American History X because they actually think that some of course, not all, but like that it. What's the word? Like it is actually turns out to be like a not a justification for their existence, but it just like it actually supports their position. Or they cheer on who was the main guy in American History X from Fight Club? What's that guy's fucking name?
Edward Norton.
Ed Norton. Yeah.
Ed Norton. Yeah. So I think weirdly I can see a bunch of hardcore evangelical Christians who are like wrestling with their own cynicism and also wanting a trad wife, watching this movie and going, yeah, I need to take it to the, I got to take it to the Burmese, like there's room for that in this.
I think so too. Yeah, and he does, like, he spends a lot of time before he kind of gets back into action. Like, it's like meditating over that like wooden cross that he gives her. And there's such a great, I love that scene where the guy is praying, and I think it's the priest that comes to talk to him about, like, oh, like, yeah, our missionaries, they disappeared. Like, can you go check in on them? And he's praying that like, God, let me be your instrument of peace. And it's it's kind of overlaid with what Rambo's about to do. It's like there's really great irony in that.
Yeah, but it's perfect for American, like, this idea that you can have a war that will end wars.
Yeah.
Let me be an agent of peace. Let me be the one who, like, finally just puts down the bad guy. And yeah, this.
That's
and the
like,
fact that her name is. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, her name's Sarah. She's the wife of Abraham or whatever. Like, it's. I think there's a code. I think there's a, like, I don't want to use the word dog whistle because but I don't know what word I'm looking for. I think people who were looking for some sort of biblical something might find it even in her name, and also really enjoy the fact that she's a pretty blonde girl who happens to immediately become under the power of. Not become, actually, it's the opposite. Yeah, sorry, it's not. Rambo immediately is like, okay, fine. She challenged me to be, like, I don't know. She doesn't even change. She doesn't even, like, the rhetorical exchange between the two is fucking dumb. But I think it's just the fact that she talks about going home. That's really it. And nothing else that she says. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, the funny, where I was gonna go with this is, like, there's such an irony of that, like, what draws Rambo into the conflict repeatedly, time after time, is the threat to her. So, like, it's the old, like, if a white woman's involved, then we care. But it's explicitly text when they're at that camp, the base camp, and, like, there are many, like those Burmese women are made to dance for the troops, and then, like, that leads to, like, sexual assault. And then there's the constant threat of her being. Then that's where Rambo's going to save. Like, there's no thought of, like, what's happening there. It's sort of like, no, the mission is to save that woman.
No, and
he's getting paid for it too. But I mean, yeah.
The Burmese general is about to take that boy into his room or whatever, and Rambo's seeing it at a distance, and he's fucking very troubled by the fact that there's, like, not only is there women being assaulted in this, but it's like, even the fucking boys, like, it's all about, like, well, not sexual impropriety, but like it's just, everything's out of control.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of, when North America and Britain, when the Commonwealth, I guess we'll say, went into war against Iraq, they don't let women drive, right? Well, we're going to teach them, right? Like, there's something to the violent, interventionist, imperialist project, which always evokes safety of women and the betterment of women as part of its, like, noble goal.
Unless you're in Florida. Oh no.
Well, I'm not. I guess the point of what we're saying is that there's a great deal of hypocrisy, like, stuck into all of this. But yeah, that's part of the stew. That's, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Chris, but I think that's the stew that you're pointing towards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wasn't the Rock killing also sort of a biblical moment?
The Rock. So I'm not
the missionary.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I guess he stones him. I don't have a reference on that.
I really appreciated that, though, because, like, he got that smug lecture from that Christian, like, I have to report this. I know you think you're doing the right thing, but killing is never right.
Killing is never.
There he is at the end.
Yeah,
just
and then
giving
just fucking raining them. Just giving
Yeah,
them.
there's a funny delivery too of a lot of the things, like the like you were saying, like the threat of the sexual assault, and then the rescue scene, but then the boy rape is like in whatever implied, but it's like, for whatever reason, it's delivered like peacefully. Like,
It's true.
Yeah, well, he comes in all like,
so weird. Like,
yeah, well,
like it's like it was almost like it's like they didn't want to take it that far. Like, whatever, he'll take female rape all the way to the fucking
That's interesting.
all the way to the promised land or whatever. But for that one, it was like, you know what? Let's give this is that considered a happy ending? I don't know.
Like making it consensual almost.
Yeah, but he's just
that kid didn't look happy. It didn't look like enthusiastic consent. So
yeah, but he wasn't even limping or anything. He was fine.
I don't want to, again, I want to, all my instincts is to tell this movie to go fuck off. Like, it's a lot of fun, and it Stallone, God bless you for the work you're doing, but the maybe it's just contrast, right? Because he's already doing the red haze, women harassment, big scene with all the soldiers, trying to, and so like you contrast that with the calm moment of like violent submission within that. It is weird, not weird, but it is interesting, or I guess. I
guess it's like a different. I mean, maybe he's just like cleverly bridging across all forms of unconsensual assault. Like, I don't know. Just there.
I think
there can be different outcomes of rape. I don't know what he's trying to communicate to me, but.
I think you grasped it. I think you just put it into a sentence.
Yeah, he's artsier than they give him credit for.
That is true.
Yeah, no, honestly, man, okay, so here's another bit of trivia we can throw at each other. He didn't want to do this movie. They had a different director, and then all of us and then he got excited. And one of the things that got him excited, according to Wikipedia, is that he started thinking that Rambo is directing this movie, not Stallone. Like, this is a movie directed by Rambo. And and that, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that actually changes anything, but I think that if we were to ask ourselves, like, how do we account for this radical shift between 1988 and 2008? It's got to be because a fictional character is directing it. Like, because otherwise it's like, otherwise director from Rambo 2, like.
Yeah. How'd you put it earlier? It's like as if a puss was directing the old ones.
Did I say that?
There's a critical quote I read that said, like, makes First Blood look like Bambi. I was like, yeah.
Oh shit.
That's fair.
That is fair. This is easily. I just can't believe the splattering of people. Like,
this is a straight up horror movie, really. Like, some of his kills are like Michael Myers-esque, like, so he just like appears behind that guy slowly over the shoulder, does a little disemboweling, like it's he rips somebody's throat out.
Yeah,
that guy really slowly.
Yeah, and she's looking, and Chris, maybe this speaks to some of what you're like. The Christians in this are really showed up for like their idealism, and their inability to accept that the world is red in tooth and claw, and Rambo's going to show you, and he
literally showed her, right?
Yeah,
that was a showcase, that kill. Like, she's fucking screaming. This guy's just gurgling. And then Rambo just, like, slowly tears his fucking larynx out of his fucking throat. And then the guy just sizzles, and she's just howling in horror. And he did not need to kill the guy that way at all.
No,
If anything, was
1988
fairly
was-
loud.
broke his
But
neck, right?
He looked at her like he wanted her to see the world as it is. This is the more biblical Rambo. To me, also, there was a different shift in Rambo as well, because Rambo was not in any danger whatsoever. He was not captured. He was not tortured. He was not in any danger of being killed. He was death. He was real death. Like, when he killed those guys on the boat, they just all fucking died. Bang, bang, bang. He fucking executed them. They didn't stand a chance. He killed them all. And he slapped that punk ass Christian missionary guy against the fucking post in the boat. Who the fuck are you? And
Yeah.
And then he lectured everybody. They would have raped her 50 times. And he's just like, he's just death in this movie. He's just like walking death.
It's not just that. It's sort of a real politique as well. Like this notion that like one does not engage in politics. One engages in, like your words have to be a continuation of force. Like politics is war by other means.
You put your finger right on it. Yeah, absolutely.
And but of course it's not actual, they don't, a different movie would take this to the parliament, whatever, but like, this movie is very like, it's almost pre-verbal, but I would say it's pre-verbal, except for the fact that like the rest of the people are roused by his speech or whatever, but.
Do you know, speaking of some of the artful touches, like this movie made me think so much of Green Inferno. Except in that movie, it was like the activists like were trying to help and like to go into the jungle to make the world a better place.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But in this case, it's like it's not leftists, it's fucking Christians, and that's why I kind of think that it has this sort of like more cynical than you think stance on this. But it's I love how it does that. Like I love the sort of like the comeuppance to that worldview, as you said, the sort of like looking the woman in the eyes as he rips that. Yeah, it's like a perfect statement of it.
And just like having one of those missionary guys have his like, just like be like crucified and have his legs eaten by pigs.
Oh my God, yeah.
All of his blood drained out of him, and that's just like you get to sit in a cage and watch that happen to him. It was a genuine. It was like visceral. Like it was a horror movie. It really was.
And then at the end, when she finally breaks and like she's like her feet are too tender, like she's too tender to like escape, but he binds them, and she's like, I feel like this is my fault. Yeah, fucking right it is. But he's like, no, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Well, that's it. Like you could easily put this movie in conversation with Black Hawk Down. This is like, or even fucking 13 Hours. The story of like that Michael Bay Benghazi movie. Any time that anyone out there in military land is on a humanitarian effort and or some sort of intervention or portrayed as humanitarian effort, and then things go wrong, but this is the one where usually in those other stories it's just like everybody's just sort of trying to, I don't know. I haven't thought about this too much. This is kind of an off the cuff thought, but the other ones are just kind of like, what a fucking mess, like, oh my goodness, the government really sucks. But like government has nothing to do with this movie, but it's still kind of in conversation with American interventionism.
Do you know what I think it is that this movie, like it almost like has that like the way they talk about cops, like that mentality of like being the sheepdog, protecting people from the worst forces, and like that's kind of what this is what it draws America as. Like, you have to have that dead-eyed psychopathic killer to like put things in line, and America will step in eventually, and you want it to, but at the same time we will do it to protect the people who want to help, because like that's important too. We need a soul. I know we don't have a soul anymore. We need those people to provide it.
And mostly they're going to be blonde, pretty girls.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, and like to the extent that there's men involved, they're going to be fucking really like ineffective in because he's literally like, he's like, hey Rambo, he's been to Burma 5 times, and Rambo's just like, you're not bringing guns. What's the fucking point? You know, like that, like to go to Burma 5 times and deliver medical assistance, like it's your 5th summer. You're probably not nothing.
That's true.
That's a hell of a thing to have done. But this movie portrays him as just like a fucking pathetic nothing. Um, and, and yeah, like he's just unable to reach Rambo, and the only one who can is like it's just like, let me talk to him about home. Let me with my blonde hair, I'll just talk to him about home, and that'll do. And that's it.
Yeah,
it worked.
The one complicating thing too is like that. Like even the hardened mercenaries, that schoolboy is kind of like, I respect these people, like that takes guts, and everyone else kind of giving him a hard time. But schoolboy is not a slouch. He's a
that's the sniper, right?
Yeah.
So he gets final. Yeah, I think that who gets voice in this movie is important. I think it's all in typical Rambo fashion. This movie operates primarily on symbol, and I and then what it chooses to symbolize and how it chooses to symbolize it is always about America's imagination, like post Rambo 3, like that's what it's transformed into. I'm just repeating our old thesis, but I think that it's all here, right? Like he doesn't even try to make it anything else at this point. But I do wonder, like, does he know what he's doing? Like
oh yeah,
the fact that he's so proud of what he accomplished. He was like, I set out to create a piece of propaganda that will help a rebel army, and I succeeded in doing that. Like, well, good for you, pal.
Honestly, how many movie directors can say that they've done that?
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is he up there in the ranks of George Lucas now? Is that with all the complexities? I don't know.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, sure, man. Fine, whatever. I don't.
And Schoolboy. I think Schoolboy's like sort of a. I don't know if he was like an analog for like military honor too. Like he went back,
Oh yeah.
Because Rambo's cause was good and defending the people were good and no man left behind, and he had every accolade of the best type of military behavior.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't call anybody. He didn't make fun of anyone's sister for being a whore, and like the way they talk about to each other early on. They're like, why don't you fucking read a newspaper other than sleeping underneath it? Like it's just like,
nice one. Well, it was very like, I feel like he spat a little bit of Predator, a little bit of Aliens. A little bit of that, like that hokey sort of James Cameron militarized crew. There was like fun bits, and then they entered the jungle. There were scenes that were almost like side by sides of those movies to just to kind of give you that squad based nostalgia feeling or whatever.
And I think a little Guy Ritchie, like the British guy who's like, fucking jungle or whatever. I like, again, I don't want to. There's no way we could pull apart this movie and stuff, but like things have changed to such an extent that you can find echoes of all sorts of things. Whatever.
Do you know who that was? Did you guys notice?
No.
Oh no, I don't know who that guy is.
That's Graham McTavish.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge actor. He was in the Hobbit. He's in House of Dragon. He's in Outlander. He's in The Witcher.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
He's a big actor. He's in The Preacher, Lucifer, Aquaman. Yeah. Anyway, so, if you see him with his beard, you'd know who he was. But like that fucking put on was so aggressively ridiculous that I didn't even know who he was.
Right.
Wow. Oh, he's the same killers in Preacher. Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So well, maybe this gets obviously, James, you named a bunch of movies, but you also named a bunch of TV stuff. And one thing that this movie has is like, even what's her nose, the lady who's playing Sarah, she's full on TV. The co-writer of this movie, we were talking, he did Hunted, but the rest of his credits are TV. This is a TV movie.
This is the best.
It's the best TV movie that ever TV. Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend anyone who listens to us talk on the regular, like, you gotta watch this one. This is not like other movies. It's not a good movie. It's like
no, you know what? Like I know that if you're gonna rank Rambo movies, you're gonna do First Blood as the best
number
Rambo
one
movie, because it is
we're in a position now to do this.
Yeah, the structure and the way the movie's put together and the plot and the message, everything's just, it's fucking the chef's kiss. But this is fucking number 2 for me.
I agree with that.
There's no coming out of that without that. This to me, there's like there's probably some arguing points for this being the best Rambo movie. I don't know. I think I could sit on the devil's advocate side of this and have some fun with it. I know you'd lose, but it's still, it was wicked.
That's fair.
I like that. And then and then after, like, what do you do after that? So I think so. Rambo, First Blood, Rambo. It's gotta be. I think if they were gonna, I don't know. Here's my pitch, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, if Rambo 2008 is our number 2, then Last Blood is gonna have to be our number 3, man.
Oh, no question. No question.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then
Last Blood is good too. Like, in a bad way.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, like, what a blast. What a fucking nightmare.
Because it flips, because this is the formula now. I think we can see this, that like Rambo gets involved in a mission to rescue somebody reluctantly. There's usually like a POW camp, and then he just like endless slaughter. Rambo 5, Last Blood, flips the formula. What if Rambo was at home and then they came to him? And then he kills everybody there.
Yeah.
That's quite a twist.
Oh. I can hear you in an exec meeting right now. I got a fucking twist for you.
Got me there.
What if the bad guys come to Rambo? So then it's Rambo. After that, it's Rambo 2 and Rambo 3, right? Like, in my heart, that's my order as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got an Extinction Agenda like consensus. Just
absolutely.
Yeah. That's a no vote necessary. No tiebreaker.
Yeah. All right.
That's it. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna think forever about the that guy when he turns the 50 caliber gun while he's sitting right in the Jeep, and then there's like goop that's all over the plating.
The meat spray on the plates.
Yeah.
I like, while we were talking, I'm just watching like the various ways in which he's gunning people down with a 50 caliber like fucking anti-aircraft gun. First he begins by, and of course the nerds were like, there's no way he could actually shoot the passengers, there's a lock bolt. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So he aims down. He aims down.
They shouldn't have stood up.
So first he kills the people with a fucking Jeep. With a gun that like the Jeep could never have handled. I just love that bit. And and then he just like ta 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 ta. It goes on for like, I didn't actually, but my goodness, it's got to be like 4 minutes of just 50 calibering people. It's out of control. I love it to death. I'm like, my goodness. I could have never imagined a movie like this existed. And then it was.
Legs flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Body parts.
Oh, people being punched, grenades going, and it's just like cut.
Yeah. Little kids on bayonets getting flicked into buildings. Never seen that before.
It's also very intelligible though. It's not one of those situations where they're like the quick cuts make it that I don't know what's happening.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like the that like as they pass that bomb, the bomb's gonna go off. But there's such great tension built into that moment when he sets up the he's setting up the mine and like the way he runs, the way trees are being flattened.
Oh yeah,
that was a great scene. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of movie that this is, where you're just like, oh, like a major explosion is just forgotten, 'cause, yeah. Anyway, this was a hell of a thing. The next time we're getting together, we're also going to talk about another important moment in pop cultural history, I suppose. We'll talk about the death of Superman, which didn't happen in this movie. This is like the ascension of the Superman, I think, or the homecoming of the Superman. But what happens if Superman died? Find out.
A lot.
Yeah. Not really.
Well, later, yeah, maybe. 'Cause the other 4 Supermen come and weird everyone out for a few years.
Yeah.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.